Okay, welcome back to the next part of Tr6 engine rebuild. So I'm still stripping it. I've part one, basically the first part. I've cleaned the floor and I've put an old moving carpet blanket down just for the sake of catching the coolant because there's going to be a lot more on here. But now we're going to get into moving the head. And there's two ways you can do it. There's the struggle way or there's the non-struggle way. Obviously the non-struggle way is the best way to go, but it takes a little bit more. So before we get there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the timing case chain, the timing chain case to the back. So along here you will find, hang on, let me move the camera down. I should have done this the first time. Okay, hopefully that's okay. You'll find a number of nuts, some bolts, and some screws. And the reason why is that the nuts are along here because the pieces already stay in, so they're already pre-threaded. You'll find short nuts or bolts go in certain points because it goes right into the block itself. And then the screws are the ones that go through only the plate, so they're really short. So it's only the plate which they go through because they can't protrude any further. So if you're not sure, like anything, take a picture or make a little note, write it down, what went where, because two of them also go through right down to the bottom into the bottom of the block, and again because it goes through an aluminum or aluminium, whatever way you want to say it, section, you can't over torque it as well because you'll just strip it bare. So we're going to remove these. These are all 1/2 inch. You will find some will get stuck and just not want to come out. It's as simple, especially these. Because you just, well, depending how the car ran. You can be different toughness, and especially when you lose the tread on a flathead screw. Like, they're flat, they're usually pretty brutal. But if you find you can't get these out, the best thing to do is, because it's all metal here, and this went pretty easy, which is lucky. Because it's all metal, the best thing to do is stick some heat on it. So get your little blowtorch and heat it up. If you can't get it the first time to twist, don't worry about it. These are actually pretty loose. I say loose, they shouldn't be that loose. Should be a bit harder to get off. When you're stripping an engine as well, it's mine to note to look for bits of shrapnel or metal. So when you take stuff off, look, I see bits of silicone down here. I see bits of grit, which is fine. But you want to see if you can find bits of metal. And the reason why is that if you find shreds of metal, something's gone wrong. It's there for a reason. So something's been probably over torqued. Something's being threaded. Something along the line of why there's metal there. So just take note of that as you go along, because it allows you to look for something further down. It says, I'm looking at the crank here. And I see bits of silicone, but if I found like shreds of metal, like slivers or whatever, hey, why they shouldn't be there, so why are they there? And that's the question you want to ask yourself, and then as you go along. Now, this should come off a little easier. And I do see something I don't like. Silicone. That's all up here. Now, it could be the gasket, but to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, yeah, it looks like silicone. So I'm looking at along the edges here. I don't know if you can see it great if it focuses in, but that's basically all. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the paper. But honestly, it looks like, it feels rubbery, so yeah, it is, yeah. It's rubbery, it's stretchy. Paper doesn't stretch or rip like that. That's silicone. Again, I'm not a fan of silicone, shouldn't be there. Now, again, before you strip this, now I know people will go into all about that timing. Let me fix the camera for you so you can see, right? Before we take it apart. Okay. Set the camera up. Now, you can see on this that there's actually timing marks, right? There's little dots here and they're all meant to line up with this dot, which is meant to line up with another one here on the crankshaft, on the sprocket, to make sure the timing is in line. So it's worth to make note before you take it apart what way it was before you put it back together. If there was nothing wrong with the engine and it ran great and the timing seemed to be okay, you want to make sure that everything did actually line up. So yes, you could turn around and just turn it and make sure they actually all did line up. Where it went, again, it's because when you go to put it back together, you're like, oh crap, which way did it go? The manual may tell you something, but how the person put the engine together to begin with is not what's more important, but more you need to see what's going on. So if the car ran great and there was no issues at all, like you could turn this and like I've done timing where I don't bother with these timing marks at all and I do my own. That's fine. Car runs absolutely amazing. But the problem is that when somebody goes to take it apart and put it back together again, they'll follow these markings and it won't work out. They'll wonder why, because I had said it. So even though like you may be setting the whole timing again or changing the camshaft or anything along that line, just take note again, take a picture, take note of what lined up if you have to, where it went. Now, for me, I'm going to do my own timing again anyway, so I don't look into it too much. But I still take reference of what was where when I go to take it apart. So just bear that in mind anyway. Alright, so now that that's off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these on here for now. And we're going to go back up to the head, because that's what I said we were going to take off. Okay. So here we go. Oh, sorry, while I'm on it, right? Before I do it, I'm going to bring the camera around here for a second. Which head do you have on your engine? To know which head you have, you're looking at this here. You're looking at this stamp. So on this one, it says 312388. That's an early model head. The later one, I think, is 31824. I know it's 247. And that's how I remember. If it ends in 247, it's a late one. If it ends in 388, it's an early one. Because there's only two. Only two types of heads, an early or a late. That's really it. So if you're wondering which lines up with which, that's it. If you also want to know, and we'll do the same as well when we take this apart, is that when we get down to the pistons, the piston numbers, or where the pistons are, which pistons are in, are actually stamped on this block. Now, sometimes it's one over each cylinder. So each cylinder will have a stamp put on it, and then the other one will have the three of them together. So we'll say basically between here, we'll say 1, 2, 3, and then over here we'll say the next three. Now I can't see them yet here because it's filthy, and I'm not going to lie, I forget which is which. Early is one way and late is a different. But yeah, and you're looking for it just along here to be a little stamp, and it'll say basically A or B. I don't know if I can see it. I won't really know till I fully clean it and get all the crap out, because obviously the paint has gone into the holes, because they're only stamped on, they're only lightly like stamped. They're not a cast or anything like that. So anybody who's wire wheeled the block at some stage, there'd be a good chance it's worn down. So all these other numbers, I'm not going to lie, I don't know what they mean. I'm going to think that this might be a cast number of some sort, 29 to the 869. I'm going to guess that, I'm not 100%. Just seems like it because it's a 71, so 70, 71. So I don't know, maybe somebody else will know that and be able to tell me. Yeah, so we'll look into that later on. Okay, let's get back to taking the head off. So I said there's two ways we can do this, the easy way or the hard way. Me, I prefer the easy way, and the reason that is, basically when you take these nuts off, which we're going to do, you're left with the shafts here. And it's very shallow. So if you can, what you're going to try to do is when you take the nuts out, there's a good chance some of them will come out with you. We're going to try remove these anyway. Because if you're getting to the point of rebuilding the engine, the best thing to do is to replace these guides anyway. Because usually they stiffen up and they get broken. And you find you can't get them apart. And what happens is that when they're all so stiff, all crap and all goes down them. You'll see when I take them off, and you basically put pressure on where, because the head just slides over them. So they look like this. And what happens is all the crap builds up here, and then the rust, and then the as well as spall, or not spall, they like swell, so all the rust and it starts to spread out. And what happens is the channel or the canal, whatever you want to call it, on the head itself, or slides over this. Basically, it rubs so much against the side, you get so much friction, you can't get the head off. I kid you not, I've literally almost destroyed heads trying to get it up, because they're trying to separate the head from the block, and because of these, they're swelled so much that it's just too much pressure. So obviously, the more you can take out, the better. So hopefully, when we're going to take these off, the more that come out with the nuts, the better. And more likely, the trouble ones are usually the ones on the outside. The reason why is they're more exposed compared to inner ones here, which, to be honest, more oil will maybe seep down and keep them more lubricated. So that's what you'll find. So what I'm doing is we're just cracking all these nuts. Again, you can use an impact gun if you want to take these off. Just never use it putting them back on. Now, these are the ones you find are the problems. This one, and this one, because they line up right beside these shafts. So what I'm going to do is, even though I've already cracked them, I'm going to remove them anyway. So I'm going to take these out. Oh, gee, fingers. Ooh. Got stuck. Came around and got stuck right on top of the spring. Ooh. Pinch. So these will, and just so you know, the nut will come with them. You can take that off, but usually the nut comes with them. Very rare does a nut come out. So this is the one you're. Oh, done it again with a different finger. Oh God, jeez, that's 2 in a row. These are the ones that your the valve cover sits on. So again, you want to try gripping them, not on the threads, because there's no need to grab on the threads. And when you put them through the machine, just make sure you wheel this down as best you can. These will end up getting the threads, like I said, because you'll end up replacing them. Because again, honestly, they get in the way. They get in the way. So I'm going to move this second. They get in the way because the more that's on it, the more pressure that's on it, and the harder it is to take out. So obviously, the less that are on, the better. Because again, when you go to deep clean it anyway, we're going to be taking them off. So do it first, make life easy. Because even if you destroy the threads in it, don't worry about that. Just replace them with new ones. So these ones you don't have to, because this holds the rocker. It's not as bad. Oh, there we go, more choo-choos. I'm going to do the second where it blows. Depending on which way it's going, depends how many times it blows the horn. Oh, it's going to be 4 times, I think. Should be one more. So this, if anybody sees what I'm using, it's one of these. You can get these in like a Princess Auto or whatever. They're a great little tool. You do pretty much most sizes. Again, when you're taking out, if you're not sure, if you've never put them back, if you're first time doing this and you haven't done it, take note which way they're facing when you come out. So normally you go around the full circle, but it's because the springs are in the way, you can't do a full circle, so you do little bits. And only do enough to crack it and then go back. If you're using these, because you'll get it wedged on too tight and then you won't be able to actually, you'll get stuck. That's why I'm sort of holding it, just to make sure it doesn't, it's enough that it's turning, because I can't go around full circle. Just because otherwise you'll get stuck here and then you'll realise you can't go anywhere, you can't even undo it. Right. Again, there's washers here, so if you're taking all the studs out, you can leave the washers on because they'll just fall off. Or if you can get them off, I can't get them off, but with gloves on, I have next to no grip. So it looks like it's not playing games here on me, because so far all the nuts have come off and not a single bolt has decided it wants to come out. Now I could try take the head off and lift it, but I know it's not going to go anywhere because it's too much pressure, it's too much friction. Like 16 bolts for it, so. And I end up just doing more damage to the head by trying to smash it and lift it. So I'm going to avoid all that. I'll crack this one. Nope. Okay. Oh God, none of them come out. Great. Oh, you dropped it. Reflexes of a mongoose. Yay. I should just use a ratchet for this, but oh, I only got one. So here's the shaft. As you can see, so the head just has to slide. Oh, I'm trying to see. The head just slides down that, and what happens is all here, that's nice and smooth, which is pretty good, but it gets rusted and swells out, and it looks like something that came off the Titanic, and it just puts so much pressure that the head's just not going to slide up. So it's easy just to remove it and just replace it. If you have a load of used ones, it's great. I have a ton of them in there, so I'm not worried. I can replace them with used ones as long as they're good. Again, that one came out no problem, so again, I can still use that. But I won't know until I clean them and actually wheel them down to see what they look like. If there's tons of pitting, well, I won't bother. I'll just swap them out. Because the pitting is only, how do I say, it's only giving it an opportunity to fill up. Like, so where there's pitting, you may get like moisture that'll stay there, and again it'll rust out. So don't put in, if there's any pit ones, don't put them back in. But again, it's a choice. Alright, so I got a few off on this side, which is good. Not as many as I hoped, but I don't want to lose the washers, so get them off. Should have a small screwdriver to get these off. Now the reason these are always handy to keep because they're a little odd sized. They're made particularly for it. So try not to lose these. You can use a normal, don't get me wrong, you can use a normal washer, but you'll find that they're pretty large. like normal washers, compared to the hole, really big. So, and you may end up overlapping, like coming off the pedestal where the washer sits. So, hang on to these washers. Unless they're cracked, somebody's over tightened it and broke them. Again, inspect everything before you put it back in. Because you're doing this because you want it to last another 50 years, so. If it looks just okay, replace it. The washers tell you a lot, actually. Sorry, I'm talking here while I'm stripping this. The washers will tell you a lot because they'll tell you what's going on. If you see a lot of wear on it and it's really, I'd say, scored, you know something's not right because it shouldn't be scored. It shouldn't be scored that much of the washer. Maybe it was moving, maybe it's being reused, maybe it was over torqued. You don't know. But again, always, I'll skip that for a second. Always inspect everything because it will tell you, because you're building it maybe for a reason. Like in this case, this one, the number 2 cylinder wasn't firing. I believe it was number 2. So, I lost it. Why? So you can think of a lot of things. It could be a sticky spring. Maybe the valve stem is broke and it's not doing anything. Maybe the push rod was not on the rocker and not physically opening the valve. Maybe the tappet is seized in there and it's not doing anything. There's a number of different reasons why. So, but having a look at it as you go along will give you an idea. And like I said, you want to see what's going on with it. I was going to see if any of these are twisting on their own. I don't think you will. Oh, yeah. Oh, got one. The more I can get out without using the tool, the more I can save. Oh, that was okay. Oh, this one's up. Yes. All right. Any more? Nope. Nope. All right. Let's go back to doing this. Make sure I put in the right one. With different size holes with different size. There you go, that's a bit better. Trying to keep it, I can get as much leverage on it as I can. Coming around. So you can see I'm not going to get anywhere. I can't go any further because of the springs, so make sure I loosen off and bring it back around and start again. Like I said, I know for a fact this one's going to be banjoed. Like I know I'm never going to use this one when it comes out, but I don't plan it, and that's why I'm doing this, because I'm trying to save all the hassle and the banging and the absolute nightmare it is to get this off these shafts. So this means replacing them. Now, will everyone come out? Maybe not. Maybe not. I've had them where they just, that's it, they're not coming out, they're not twisting, they're not undoing for love nor money. Which is fine. But as long as you can get most of them out, the more you get out, the less pressure is on it. And the easier it is to get the head off. I'm trying to look in to make sure it's actually spinning. It's not ready to go on its own yet. And bear with me, I'm sorry if you have to stake me watch this. So if you want to skip this, well then just fast forward it. Alright, there's one now. The shaft itself wasn't bad, if you can see. But But yeah, I've obviously used and destroyed the threads, so I wouldn't use it, so that's discarded. So, anytime you have to do this on the thread, replace it. The shaft is one thing, because you can grind the shaft a bit, but you can't grind the threads. That was a bargain. All right. Two. But the outside ones are usually the worst. They look pretty good actually, so I'm thinking it won't be too bad. But we'll see. Oof. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Okay, my finger's stuck. There's 3 times I got my finger stuck. Jesus. And that's discarded. Okay. So I have all the 3 out this side. So I'm going to work on these. There's less room. So hopefully just a little crack is enough to send them and be able to hopefully get them out. Hopefully it's just enough. Oh, falls in the right one. Lucky enough I can see it spinning, so I know it's moving. Didn't crack, but I know it's moving. But not enough to free down. I'm watching my fingers. I've already got them stuck 3 times. I've never done it once yet. I've done it 3 times now because the camera's on. I know that's why. Never once have I ever got my fingers pinched in here. I've done it 3 times now. Now, I barely touched this to get it to go. And the threads look pretty okay, but again, do you know what? I'm not going to take the chance. I'll discard that one. I just barely took it. Oh yeah. This one might be more salvageable because I barely moved it. I barely touched it to get it to go. No. If I can see the teeth on this, it's... I'm not going to take the chance. Same as this, look, I just barely touched it. Which is good. Like I said, these are usually better end because they're more lubricated. Ooh, a lot of oil in there. No, them threads are okay. That should be savable. I look at how much force does it take to physically move it. I'll just take more forces since I'm not going to make it. Now look at the time. Now if you didn't do this, how much time would it take you to get the head off? Hammering it, lifting it, using something in there to prop it. And you'll see. Now there's nothing holding it. You know, just apart from any sealer on the gasket, it should just go. It's lasting so much oil on it, it's after greasing up my hands. I'm going to grip. Sorry, this must be painstaking to watch. Oop. Only one more after though, that's it. And then we're golden. You know what? I wonder it's taking so long. I wasn't moving it. Surely you should go now. Ah, you're joking me. Now this is lucky because there's so much oil in there and I can't see what it looks like. Look, it's so oily you can't you can't even see the threads. It looks like a solid piece. It looks like a chocolate bar of some sort. Alright, last one. Yeah. Alright. Okay. Now we have them all off. There's literally nothing holding this on. So all I need to do is break the pressure between the gasket and the head, which, let me see if I can get it by hand. Is there enough on it? Nope. All right, I'll go get my hammer. Now I shouldn't need to hit it too much. It's starting to leak a bit, so I know I've relieved it a tiny bit. And I want to find a point I can hit that's not going to damage or affect the engine anyway, so I'll take a little corner here. Now you see, there's no bolts holding this on and it still doesn't want to go up, so you imagine if you did have the bolts on it. Done nothing yet. This gasket's been put on good. There we go. Took a little tap, but now there's nothing holding it, and away it comes. Now I'm just going to put on the ground first because get some more rags and clean up all the coolant that's now going to be floating in here. It gives me a first chance to look into it and see what's going on. So I can look across the heads and see if there's anything in particular that stands out, i.e. a big hole in the piston, like the crown, any scoring here or anything along that line. So other than filled with coolant, which again I'll need to drain out, and it's obviously raining pretty hard out there, and I want to take the oil pan off. That means flipping it upside down, so I'm gonna have to find something to catch this. I'll sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me again. Okay. And the head. Oh, yeah. See, I'm just going to place it back down here for a second. Just nice and easy. Obviously I don't plonk it down on top of the thing. But again, I'm going to look at it and see is anything stand out. Look at the colour disfiguration. See which was born in bad, which one was born in good, how much gunk and crap is in there. Like I can see, look, this looks like it's pretty pretty dark, so that was born in rich. These look okay because they're greyish, so these look like a bit of lean. But then there was this one. The spark plug is absolutely crystal clear, so that tells me the plug nothing was happening in there. And this is number 1, 2, 3, number 4. So I don't know if you can see that, but the plug itself is, if you look at the rest of the plugs, they're all filthy, and the plug is like it was just like you put a brand new one in there. So that's how obviously it wasn't firing. So either one of 3 or 4 things. One is maybe the plug itself wasn't getting a spark, so it could be a spark plug issue, it could be a HT issue, like a HT lead. But then also in here it could be that this was flooding with something else, like flooding with coolant or oil, and therefore any fuel getting in was just getting contaminated and not sparking, not igniting. Or the valves were never opening up to actually allow fluid, the fuel to come in. So, but you know what, it's all getting taken apart. I'm going to rectify that, but I'm taking note of what was going on where, because obviously there was more discoloration and burning. There's obviously a lot more thick here, but the valves themselves are pretty smooth, which is good. I mean, there's not much build up here, but around it, yeah, a bit dirty, but it's fine. This one, as you can see, is a lot of wet carbon. So, like I said, it was pretty moist in there by the looks of it. So, yeah, the rest of them don't look too bad. But again, it's going to get new valves anyway. I'm not worried about that. I like to replace the valves. You've gone this far, why would you put old ones back in? So that's it. But again, when I eventually take it out and clean it and sandblast it, I will see exactly what's going on. Alright. So, well, that's it for that part. I'm going to try wait till it stops raining, and then I'm going to go out and then flip this upside down so I can get rid of the rest of the coolant on it. I'm going to take the tappets out while I'm waiting. Over here. Oh, it doesn't want to come out. There we go. I'm going to take all the tappets out, because when you flip it upside down, they should all just fall out. And again, like anything, you take it apart, have a look at them and see what's going on. See, is there any scoring along the edge? Was there any rubbing? Are they even? Because again, not saying that that's, you know, exactly what was going on, but it gives you a problem. If that's all scored, then something was wrong. Maybe that's why it wasn't firing, because this wasn't moving, because maybe something got jammed in between there. A piece of metal got stuck down in there and just didn't allow the tappet to go down or come back up, or, I mean, it's like, you just don't know. Yeah, that's it. So anyway, thanks for watching. That's how we remove the head. Well, that's how I do it. Just, as I said, it makes it a little easier, because I've gone through the whole trouble of putting like trying to spread it and putting chisels and all sorts in here to separate and lift it, and all you're really doing is taking chunks out of this and taking chunks out of the head where it needs to meet, and because you want this smooth. So like I said, for the sake of the studs, which may cost you what, $20-$30, you know what, I'd rather spend $30 on new studs than spend a good couple of hundred that they'll take a chunk out of this and go get all this skimmed. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm gonna clean up all this mess, and we'll see you in the next part where we'll flip up this now and down, take the sump off, and we'll start taking our pistons out. Alright, so see you in the next part.